Hi all, this is App Architecture Q&A number 15, and Chris is with us again. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
And Matt as well.
Hello, everyone.
So let's just get right into two little questions we have. And so let's see, the first one is about MVP. So the question is, did you consider MVP plus coordinator or view state architecture? And if we could share our thoughts about this concept. So we have in the book, we have MVVM with the coordinator, and we have MVC with the view state representation in the model, but we don't have MVP plus coordinator or view state. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I think they are separate concepts, even though they might overlap a little bit. But the cool thing about view state is once you're aware that there's such a thing as view state, and once you're aware that you could put this in a global place, like we do in MVC plus view state, I think it really opens up how you can think about view state and communication patterns. And I think in most architectures, most common architectures, you can add this global view state, and you don't have to go as, or don't have to do it as extremely as we did in MVC plus view state. You can also take part of the view state and make it global, basically the part that you want to share. So yeah, it would work well with MVP or with MVVM. I don't know, Matt, do you have any additional thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's very easy to add coordinators and view state to things. There is the concern that the two of them overlap with each other. I mean, to an extent, one of the things that view state does well is managing navigation. And that's one of the things that the coordinator does well. They do it from a different perspective. View state is about modeling the structure as data and then applying that to the view. And then a coordinator is about imperatively driving that through the control layer. You'd need to make sure that they weren't treading on each other's toes, but you could definitely do it if you wanted. I think, the idea is we think very strongly in this book that you should try a lot of these ideas and see what you enjoy applying in your own projects.
Yeah, and so both of them, coordinators and this explicit view state representations, are also things that we list in the book as ideas that you can take away from these patterns and apply them in other places. So that's very easy with these two ideas. At least, as Chris mentioned, if you're working in design patterns that somehow resemble something like MVC. So if you're working in the Elm architecture, then there's already a solution for this in place, of course. So let's move on to the second question here. And this is about data sources. So if you have an architecture like MVVM, for example, with a view model, or maybe MVP with a presenter, then the question is, where should the data source live? Matt, do you have ideas on that?
So table view data sources, which I assume that's what this question is talking about. Table view data sources are really about the last transformation between your data stream and the view. And so you really need to put it in the last layer before the view, which tends to be the controller. It's not really a view model or a presenter idea in most cases. You can do pre-transforms just before the data source in your view model, or even a presenter layer. But in general, you wouldn't necessarily put the whole data source in there because that's kind of an imperative concern dealing with the delegate coming back from the table view, and you're really just entangling that kind of relationship. If you have a look at our MVVM code, we use an RX Swift community project for just doing all of that data view stuff as a binding at the very last level. It's quick and simple to do it that way, and it works well. If you need to actually do transforms and streams of changes along the way, then you might need to implement it yourself. but I think you would still be putting it in the controller layer, or not necessarily in the view controller, but in a sort of a friend controller that helps it out.
I think maybe one way to look at it is also to, well, the data source almost certainly needs to be in the controller layer because it's one of these controller-like objects. But the question is, how much of the logic of the data source could you move out? As Matt said, in our MVVM implementation, we use this RX, I think RX data sources, it's called, the project, which basically you give it a new array every time and it computes the diff and it animates all the changes to the table view. In a previous implementation of the same version of the project, we had the view model give us table view changes. So all of that logic was in the view model, so it was nice and testable. And then we would send those changes to a data source object, which its only function was to translate the view model's changes into table view changes without any real logic. So you can mix and match there, and you can think about how much logic do you want to have outside of your data source, or is it just fine as is?
Yeah, sounds good. So basically all the questions we have for today already, at least more content-related questions. And this is also, as it turns out, the last edition, basically, of our regular weekly pre-release Q&A, because the book is almost finished. We are working on the last tweaks. We are getting some copy editing changes back from Natalie, who's doing the copy editing for us, and we are busy with some other little layout things and formatting things and all this kind of stuff. So this is the last regular Q&A we'll do, and we plan to actually do this on a semi-regular basis, maybe again in a month or so, but we haven't decided on that yet, and we will announce it as soon as we know more. But yeah, so Chris, what do you think in terms of the bringing this whole project to a close and bringing the book to a close?
Well, it's really fun to finally wrap it up. And there's all these little things, but I'm happy that we got it done. There's a bunch of questions that we also got from people. So, for example, about the videos, when the videos will be ready, because we promised them. And actually, as it turns out, Florian is uploading them right now. So the videos, if you bought the ebook plus videos, they should be there. Maybe by the time you see this. People ask us if there will be a print edition, and yes, there will be a print edition, but only once the book is fully ready. So hopefully we can get that done next week by the latest, because it doesn't make sense to print a pre-release. That would be a waste of paper. People asked us also about the Kindle version. People who want to read it on the Kindle. One person asked me, should we buy it on Amazon or should we buy it on your website? And if you buy it on Amazon, you have, of course, the advantage that you have all your Kindle purchases nicely together. But the thing is that updates are a little bit tricky. If we publish an update, which we usually do for all our books, then Amazon won't update it automatically. They basically don't want you to lose your bookmarks and notes, so they don't give you updates. So you have to do some manual steps. It's a little bit tricky. And if you buy it through our website, we'll just send you an email, and then you know that you can do the update. So that's a little bit easier, I think. And yeah, I don't know. Florian, is there anything else I forgot to mention there?
I think you covered it all. Matt, what do you think about getting the book out finally? How does it feel?
It's going to be strange for me to read the book not in Markdown.
Yeah,
I'm used to the book being this thing that lives in text editors. No, it's weird. So it's been, when did we start this? I think we did our first work on it at the end of May last year. So it's been almost 12 months. It's very strange. It'll be it'll be weird not to have to work on it every week.
Yeah, but we will come back to it, I'm sure. There will be some changes, fixes, additions,
Yeah.
Swift
But
updates.
Chris was saying to me before this stream started that, I got to get working on some new side projects. So, I'll have to think something up.
Yeah, I want to see the next iteration of CWO views.
Yeah, it's called CWL Marzipan.
Yeah, so let's end on this note. We are looking forward to this.
Uh-oh.
So, of course, thanks everybody for being part of the pre-release and for participating in these Q&As. Has been a lot of fun for us. And yeah, as I said before, I think we will do some more of them in the near future, but we will announce this separately. See you around. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.